Paraguay have shockingly sent Germany packing, whilst Brazil crushed Japanese hearts deep in stoppage time. Morocco inflict further penalty trauma on the Dutch, and some crazy transfer news involving Nico Paz and Harry Kane. This is DMAC Daily. Today, I feel Paraguay. What a jaw-dropping day of World Cup action from start to finish. First things first, and oh boy, it's lonely out here in the AFC right now. Not a good look, just quietly. More on Japan's woes later on, but where else can we start today other than in Boston, as heavyweights Germany have been knocked out in the round of 32 on penalties, would you believe it, by unfancied South American nation Paraguay. Unbelievable stuff. A result I don't think anyone saw coming. It's the fourth biggest upset in terms of ranking differential in World Cup knockout history, and to take Germany out on pens, a country that is renowned for their prowess in this department, undefeated prior to today in World Cup shootouts, just astonishing stuff. Granted, this Germany side hadn't exactly been flawless prior to this game, had they? You take out that 7-1 thumping of Curacao, and okay, they pulled off a good comeback v Cote d'Ivoire, sure, but that loss to Ecuador really stifled the mood within this team, because remember, they fielded a more or less full-strength side that day and were deservedly beaten, a result that would have no doubt given Paraguay a lot of self-belief heading into this matchup. More concerningly for Nagelsmann, the football Germany had been playing all tournament prior to today was awkward. This forward line lacked width, transitional speed, or penetration of any sort. Against competent opposition, they hadn't looked like a powerhouse team. So in the hopes of restoring their attacking threat today, Nagelsmann made a big call, dropping Musiala and bringing Undav into the side to partner Havertz in the forward line. And needless to say, it didn't work. Germany were still lacking in the creativity and goal-scoring threat department. Paraguay, meanwhile, set up in their trusted 4-4-2 low-block shape. They largely nullified Germany's threat and found the breakthrough just on the stroke of half-time. Almiron orchestrating the space for Caceres, whose cross couldn't have been placed any better for their danger man Enciso to latch onto the header. 1-0 Paraguay. Germany were stunned. Surprisingly, Mecha was hooked at half-time for Goretzka, a rather strange call considering he's probably been their most consistent player all tournament, but in the second half they'd inevitably find an equalizer as Wirtz's cross found Havertz. From there on, it was a game of limited chances, both teams defensively quite resolute. We almost witnessed a carbon copy scenario with Wirtz to Havertz in the second half, but the keeper was Johnny on the spot to make the save. Unable to break through Paraguay's brick wall in defense, Germany opted for set pieces to try and make a breakthrough, and controversially they were denied a goal in extra time. Tars' header ruled out due to Anton's supposed contact with the keeper in the build-up. I personally thought it was incredibly soft, but I'm curious as to your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. But in the end, the score would finish 1-1, and the shootout that followed was pure drama. Havertz saw his attempt saved before Voltemada also missed, but 2 penalties up, and with the chance to win, Paraguay missed their first, and then Neuer came up with a stunning save to keep Germany alive. The script was written. Neuer was set to be the hero, but unfortunately Jonathan Tah must have been watching Gabriel highlights prior to today, because his effort ended up in the car park, and at the third time of asking, Paraguay got it done. Jose Canale, the man who came into the side at the expense of Alderete's injury, put in a heroic defensive performance for 120 minutes before slotting home the decisive spot kick. What a day for Paraguayan football. They took a huge L in the opener, but have been an incredibly spirited team ever since. Back-to-back clean sheets and another defensive masterclass, this time against Germany. Orlando Gil in goal with a stellar performance. The scenes in Paraguay upon the victory were simply incredible. I believe a national holiday was just announced too. Football really is that serious. You love to see it. As for Germany, just a comprehensive disaster. All of their promise from the Euros has gone out the window. Nagelsmann will almost certainly be shown the exit door, you'd imagine. I mean, he has objectively failed here. His tactics were baffling all tournament. The lack of pace and attacking threat has been a perennial issue. And if you're relying on Sane to fill that void in the big 2026, I'm sorry, you're asking for trouble. Additional questions need to be asked of the superstars in Wirtz and Musiala. Granted, Musiala's only come back from a serious injury, so it's a bit harsh to be overly critical on their number 10, but Wirtz, man, so disappointing. Sure, he had 3 assists this tournament, but ultimately, when it mattered most, he lacked the personality on the pitch to take this game by the scruff of its neck and make the difference. I know he's playing out of position on the left wing, but he's supposed to be Germany's generational talent. Either way, crazy result. 0 knockout wins for Germany now since they previously won the tournament back in 2014. A tough day to be a German fan. Sorry, Fiago. Meanwhile, a few hours prior, we had another classic as the 5-time World Cup winners Brazil pulled off a stunning comeback to eliminate the Samurai Blue 2-1, with substitute Martinelli delivering the incisive blow in the 95th minute. Pure pain for the Japanese fans. That one fan in the stands was going through it at full time, but for Ancelotti Seleção, this is such an enormous victory. So much character on display today. The pressure to perform with Brazil is like few countries in world football. I mean, they're the most successful country in World Cup history. But in recent memory, the prestige of the Seleção has largely dissipated. It's the reason why the legendary club coach was brought in to try and restore the fallen giants. And after their tournament opener, the situation appeared worrisome, largely outplayed by Morocco, particularly in the middle of the park. But thanks to the individual brilliance of Vini Jr. that day, they got a result, and with each game, incremental improvements have been made. Vini Jr. has maintained an elite level, but across the pitch, the Seleção have looked more assured, particularly in midfield. But today was their biggest test yet against a Japan team that has been superb in the group stages, one of the most entertaining and daring teams to watch in that trademark 3-4-2-1 setup with their intricate passing patterns and free-flowing style. Ancelotti's side were coming up against the trickiest of opponents today, and in the first half, they were dealt a hammer blow, caught on the break with Sano's strike from range finding the bottom left corner. Suddenly, Brazil were staring down the battle of a devastating defeat. To exit at this stage of the tournament would have been a 70-year low, but in the second half, Brazil rose to the occasion just 10 minutes in, and they found the equalizer. Ironically, it was Gabriel, the aerial machine, with a spectacular ball to the back post, with Casemiro, the veteran midfielder, popping up with a trademark header. From there on out, Brazil were in total control. Japan, a team who are so used to dominating on the ball, struggled to contain the Brazilians' attacking threat. Zion Suzuki with some monumental saves to keep the scores level. Vini came oh so close to scoring one of the goals of the tournament, sending Tomiyasu for a hot dog first with a filthy Megs, cooking Sano in the 1v1, but Suzuki denied the star winger with a save of the tournament contender of his own. Despite the momentum shift, it appeared as though we were headed to extra time, but late on, Guimarães picked out Martinelli, whose ruthless touch and quick finish was too much for the keeper to handle. 2-1 Brazil, game over, an epic result, the type of performance to galvanize an entire country. So props to Ancelotti, because Brazil fully deserved this win in the end. Japan overran them at times in the first half, but instead of reverting to pragmatism, they did the opposite and went on the ascendancy. Ancelotti brought on Endrick, pivoted to a 4-2-4, and overwhelmed their opponents going forward. A huge gamble that inevitably paid off. The only concern, however, are the potential injuries sustained to Casemiro and Paqueta. That would be a devastating blow. As for Japan, low-key, I'm disappointed. Brazil stepped up today, sure, but the AFC Giants crumbled under the lights. I know they've missed several key players this tournament, but the way in which they fell off in that second half was a bit of a shock to me. Maybe I'm being a little overly critical. It's not like they lost to a pub team out there, but I just rate Japan so highly. Seeing how much they've developed as a footballing country in my lifetime, it's baffling to me that they're still yet to win a knockout match in 4 attempts now in a World Cup. You know, if there's any team in the AFC I could genuinely see replicating the heroics of Morocco in 2022 or like Croatia in 2018, it's Japan. They have a true identity and the footballing infrastructure to be a powerhouse nation, but that mental barrier is still holding them back from greatness on the world stage. And in the third and final match of the day, we saved the best for last. An absolute classic, both teams sacrificing blood, sweat, and tears in battle as Morocco have defeated the Netherlands via the most dramatic of penalty shootouts. Guys, I think we need to change the description of Morocco at this point, because they no longer fit the criteria of dark horse at this point. No. That was an apt assessment of them back in 2022 when this spirited generation first took the world by storm. But in 2026, these guys are a different beast now, having prevailed over a very strong Netherlands team. I think it's time we start referring to Morocco as the heavyweights that they are. Perhaps the first African country to ever fit this elite criteria, because the quality of this team is simply world class. In goal, in defense, in midfield, in attack. Today we saw a team that knew who they were. And I'll hold my hand up and be completely honest. I didn't anticipate they'd win today. As much as they've improved technically over the last 4 years, I assumed the physicality of this Dutch team was going to be too strong for this transformed African giant, especially considering that this was a Netherlands side full of confidence, having topped one of the most competitive groups in the entire tournament. That being said, recognizing the danger of Morocco, it was Koeman's side that made a tactical switch up, reverting to a back five to counteract their defensive vulnerabilities. And look, it largely worked, right? Over the course of 90 minutes, Morocco were the stronger team, but the Netherlands game plan was working, with who else but Cody Gakpo stepping up for his country, which was all the more remarkable considering the immensely difficult circumstances he had endured in the previous 24 hours, having tragically lost his unborn son. For him to even play was one thing, but to come up with that moment was really special. However, huge credit must go to this Morocco team, because having conceded 72 minutes in, many teams would struggle to reassert themselves in such a high-stakes, chaotic situation. But Mohamed Awabi's side remained steadfast, and in the 91st minute, substitute Talbi whipped in the perfect delivery, and it was the central defender Issa Diop rising highest, burying his header past a helpless Verbruggen. A simply stunning moment. The celly was cold, and from there on out, it was one-way traffic. If it wasn't for the heroics of Verbruggen in goal, this game wouldn't have gone the distance, and that save in extra time is one of the craziest saves I've ever seen. Unbelievable stuff. But in the end, penalties would separate the two teams, and what a crazy shootout it was. El Ainaoui first hits the bar, Kluivert then responds hitting the post, Rahimi slots one of the most bizarre pens ever as Verbruggen makes the save only for the ball to cruelly go back in, then Timber fires wide, Hakimi hits that same post, Somerville's shot is saved in bizarre fashion as Bunu almost overreads it but still pulls up a big left hand, setting the stage for Saibari, Morocco's breakout star in attack, the man who had previously become the first African to score in all 3 group stage matches. This was his moment, and he made no mistake. What a freaking game. What a moment for Moroccan football. They now advance to the round of 16, where they'll take on Canada with the full belief that they can not only go on to win this game, but the whole damn thing too. Last thing on Morocco quickly, and this midfield duo of El Ainaoui and Bouadi is simply ridiculous. Pure class, plain and simple. Now as for the Netherlands, and boy oh boy that's gotta hurt. 3 successive World Cup campaigns ended via penalties. When it comes to spot kicks, it is what it is. I think to blame individual players here is silly. My immediate reaction is to hold someone like Koeman responsible. After all, Morocco did outplay them. But then again, were it not for a 90th minute equalizer, that would have been seen by many as a defensive masterclass. Such is football, a game of moments. But despite the pain of this loss, deep down, I think every rational Dutch fan probably recognizes the better team won today. Switching gears to transfer news to close out today's episode, and we got 2 huge developments overnight, starting with Nico Paz, and it turns out there's a change in plans for the Argentine. Now, it was widely reported that Madrid would retain the Argentine this summer with their 9 mil buyout clause, only for him to be immediately resold back to Como permanently for 60 mil. We even got a here we go from Fabrizio Romano, but the plans have now changed, as Paz has decided he wants to remain in Como for another year, which kind of makes sense when you think about it, right? Paz is thriving in the Serie A. He's the first name on the team sheet under Fabregas. UCL football is on offer this summer at Como, and considering how much competition there currently is at Madrid, it's probably in his best interest to stick around for another year to develop further. Additionally, Madrid retain another buyout clause in 2027 for just 10 million euros. So come next year, he could be worth 100 mil plus. So it's a great outcome for Madrid, and Como still get another season of a superstar start to elevate their club further before they eventually lose him for peanuts. But considering they only signed him for 6 mil, they'll still make a profit, and Paz has clearly transformed the status of this club. So you take the good with the bad. And in the other major transfer story of today, Harry Kane is expected to sign a new contract at Bayern Munich. Despite the recent development, the Barca actually made an inquiry over the England international. They're obviously in search of their Lewandowski replacement. The Julian Alvarez deal is clearly very complicated, so they got in touch with Bayern's reps about the Englishman's availability, perhaps a more cost-effective solution in the striker department. After all, Kane's deal is set to expire come 2027. But according to David Ornstein's reporting, an exit now seems unlikely. Kane had an option to actually activate a release clause this summer, but he had to inform the club by January this year, a decision he ultimately opted against doing. Beyond that, he's come out publicly addressing his future previously, saying it's, quote, very unlikely he'd leave, with Bayern's hierarchy now actively in talks of a contract renewal. And whilst, look, I'd love to see him in La Liga, 4 Englishmen in El Clasico would be wild to see. But remember, Kane is already the star of a European giant, a club where he's actively adored by the Bayern fan base, and also he's in the form of his life. 60 goals in 50 club games this past season, including prolific output in the Champions League. Ornstein did also mention that he won't make a formal decision till after the World Cup, so nothing is set in stone, but I think Barca may have to look elsewhere for a new striker. Anyways, guys, that's all for today's DMAC Daily. If you stuck around to the end, I really do appreciate it. Your support has been incredible throughout the World Cup, but with that in mind, I'll see you same time tomorrow for more tournament action. Take care.